Trucking, got my chips cashed in. Keep trucking like the Doodah Man. Together, more or less in line. Just keep trucking on.
All right. New business, zoning ordinance 2022-06 concerning marijuana.
Okay. What the public needs to know on this is we passed ordinance number 2022-05, and that's the ordinance itself that allows marijuana in Brawley Township. 2022-06 was concerning marijuana and the zoning ordinance thereof as to where it would be allowed to be either used, not used, sold, or where it could be manufactured or grown as it may be. That was pretty much it. And it was where it was going to be put within the ordinance that currently existed. It was nothing more than what do you call that? Amendment, yeah. An amendment to an existing zoning ordinance. That's all it was. It got driven down the road in several different directions. It came to a 4-1 vote to turn 2022-06 down. However, 2022-05, when it was passed, you've got to look at marijuana, and unfortunately for all of us, if you want to see it that way as a negative impact, unfortunately for all of us, the state allows that because it is in fact a legal business. They have a right to put that in any commercial zoning. We had zoned out C1. If we put C1 back in, that's your downtown district. It's pretty much everything that we have business-wise. The township before had said that they didn't want this downtown. The marijuana people would love to have it downtown. The question here being is, well, it's a legal business. We do not have an option whether we actually want it or not want it, because it is legal. It's only a matter of whether we want it or we simply don't want it. We don't want it in residential. We don't want it to be sold in residence areas. We don't want it to be sold in agricultural areas, nor forested areas, any of that. Only in C1 or C2. And it's permitted whether we like it or not, without passing any zoning ordinance. We're not pass darn thing. What we can pass is where we don't want it. We don't want it in residential. We don't want to sell it in agriculture. We don't want to sell it in certain areas. That we can do. We do not need an ordinance to tell us where you can sell it or where you can grow it. It's in the ordinance itself, and it's in the state regulations. So now we're in a position whereby what we're looking for now is a legitimate discussion on the businesses themselves and not where you want them, but where you don't want them. The rest of it's off the table by law. So that's where we are today.
Where do you come up with this idea that we can't change the 2205 ordinance? You could pass a resolution that says we're not going to have it in Briley. You can't go by the state MCL when it comes to that. The township has a right to revoke parts.
The township is the board.
Yeah.
The people put us in here. It's our job to make tough decisions.
But just because it's legal in the state doesn't mean that we have to make it legal in the township.
It's already legal by vote.
No.
Krebs absolutely right. There are other townships that have voted not to.
You're
allow it.
absolutely wrong on that, Phil. I don't know where you got your information.
Let me back it up and I'll tell you.
Okay.
There were several of them, including Briley, that actually said, no, we don't want it here, even after the vote and everything else.
Yep.
We don't want it here. That happened in several towns, villages, cities, all over the state of Michigan, and they reversed it. and they reversed it because it brings people to town. Do you know of anybody out there that owns a business that doesn't want more?
Yeah, but that's not what you were trying to say before. You were trying to say that because it's a state law that we have to allow it. We don't.
Well, we passed it, and now we.
Well, you can also make a resolution to revoke it.
Well, I don't think we're gonna do that. I'm not speaking for the board, I'm speaking for me.
Well, you're trying to get things across here that isn't true
What's not true?
about the state law and that we have to have it.
No,
No,
not that we have to have it.
Okay, but
we
that's
have-
what you were trying to,
There's different types of agreements between townships, the state, and law, and everything else. They all sort of come together. What this is called a police action, not a vote by the public. Police action means that Don can tell you this, he knows about police action. This is a police action business, meaning that it's endorsed by the state, it's enforced by the state, it's enforced also by sheriffs, police departments, and so on. That's the enforcement side of it. It's already there, it's built in, there's money for it in the project. We don't have to pay extra money for it. That's what I'm trying to get through to you. This thing encompasses much more than we as a small township can ever understand. That's why when we put it together, we've had lawyers do it. They do know the law.
Well, the important point that Craig points out, and we're all getting at, the township board made the decision to allow marijuana, period. We could have taken the opposite and said we don't want it. So just get that out there as fact.
You could have said anything you wanted to, and you did. The thing was, the board had the ultimate decision.
Correct, so this is a board decision.
Yes, it was.
Okay, that's.
So, but, correct me here,